Um, there's something happening.
Are you
A generational shift.
a generation? Are you talking about our new weekly industry heat segment?
Yeah, yeah. I mean that is also a shift. That's right. Yep, yep. Every week we're gonna have something for you. We started last week dropping because there's the industry. I mean, I say it's a generational shift, and we've had this in the industry from talkies, from silent to talkies to then introduction of television to color, and then introduction of television, then cable, then of course, streamers, internet streamers. But this AI, man,
Yes. You remember we did that great chat with the Miami Film Festival that you hosted so brilliantly, and we called it AI You Ready? And I don't think we're ready, my friend.
that was 4 months ago.
Feels like 10 years ago. It's like all that stuff is outdated.
Yeah.
In July. But this latest one that we read about recently. So apparently, Amazon is an investor in this new app called Showrunner, which is very interesting because it essentially mimics the job of a TV showrunner, where you can go in. Right now, they can only generate a 22-minute scripted animation, where you basically prompt this app to create whatever kind of cartoon in certain universes. You can even say you want yourself to be a character, and it creates an episode for you and puts it out. And you could share it. You can put it online, put it on YouTube. Essentially, I mean, I don't know what the distribution model is going to look like, especially if it involves IP. But it's pretty intense and scary what the Showrunner app apparently can do.
Yeah. Um, you know, there is a forecast that right now I think that the trial is with South Park, something like that. Um, look, AI, all this, it takes a lot of energy, you know, and they're building huge, not only data centers, which is absolutely necessary, but they're I mean, Google is looking to, do their own nuclear reactors and, you know, just find more energy sources to fuel this. It just takes a lot of energy to fuel this AI. And so I think that that's also one of the limitations because it takes so much energy.
Yeah, yeah, and look, we're just talking about the entertainment industry, but obviously AI is being deployed across every industry and business sector and social sector imaginable, right? Education and training and military and government and it's just, it's insane the amount of energy. And that's obviously one of the limitations of the Showrunner app, is that it can only do a 22-minute animation because as they quoted in the article, if anything live action to that length would essentially melt their servers right now. So they're sticking with like basic 2D animation for now. But as they figure out like you were saying, how they're going to power this, whether it's solar, whether it's nuclear, whether it's, I don't know, we're all going to be running in a hamster wheel powering AI, right, while we sleep. That's really seems like the big thing, kind of holding things up at the moment.
Yeah. And everyone kind of has their version. Um, I ChatGPT and Sora. There's the VO3, which is Google's, um, which is now, you could have voice and synced and these kind of things. Runway, which is a pretty big one. And it's a race. It
Yeah.
really is a race. And what's happening is, just as you said, JL, because it's a race, they're creating these new breakthroughs and ways to utilize AI, and everyone is sitting back with bated breath to see how it's going to affect them. Um, it's forecast by 2027, 30% of jobs. I've seen estimates of up to 40% of jobs uh, could be cut.
Wow.
Could be cut. And the CEO of Salesforce, I just saw an interview with him. This is not our industry, but it is kind of because Salesforce also has an overlap into the film, media, and entertainment industry because they utilize Salesforce. The CEO, he said already 50% of their engineers are software engineers gone,
Wow.
and he's looking for ways to replace more. And so um, it is it is something. They have now degrees on prompting and job openings on AI prompting. I guess it's creating some kind of jobs, so we'll see. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think it also kind of boils down to creativity, and that creativity is challenging to replicate. We've had these conversations about when I'm directing actors, I want to have a take where the actors just go full out, full throttle, and then I want to tweak something. Maybe if it's anger, I want to go the other way. Maybe to try another angle, you know, maneuver a little bit. Maybe it's handheld. Maybe it's you know to put it on sticks. I want to try a lot of different things, and the authenticity of a real actor, I'm not so sure. But we'll see. We'll see. Um, but there are a lot of cuts happening. As I said, Warner Brothers, they're cutting 10% of their workforce.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of cuts, yeah, it definitely seems that Warner Brothers, and a lot of this also has to do, not necessarily directly as a result of AI or what it's coming with AI, but, these legacy media companies, as they're known now, the Disneys of the world, the Comcast, obviously Warner Brothers, who went through all this trouble of merging with Discovery, and now they're, I guess, demerging. It's the separation of the Discovery assets with Warner Brothers Studios, which is going to hold on to obviously the flagship HBO, as well as the Warner Brothers movie studios, and of course the streaming platform, and then CNN as well as the Discovery networks are going to be turned into their own separate company again. And so that kind of show. And then when you have these huge shifts, just like Skydance Paramount merger we talked about last week, they want to create, I guess, what the CEO types would call efficiencies, right? And so that means um, less people needing to do the work, hence this reduction in workforce overall, this 10% that they're talking about.
Yeah, you have that kind of reduction, but there's talks about other kinds of reductions. Could be the aforementioned area that we just spoke of, and so we're just going to see the sand. See, I'm flustered. The sand is shifting.
Well,
The
you own your
sand.
own company, Kevin, so I think you're safe.
I have a couple of companies, man, but yeah, you kind of worry, whether it's
Oh,
either
sure.
for your employees, but who knows, man? But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I wrote an op-ed way back at the beginning of the year for MMFM that we're getting into the golden age of the indie producer. And I do think that what you're going to start to see is more entrepreneurial minded producers and filmmakers that know how to harness the technology, but also input their own creative original work are going to be successful. Because even though these big media companies are slimming down, because of the streaming nature of things, there's an endless need for new content, for new shows, for new ideas, for new IPs. So you have to consistently feed that monster, right? And so the idea is that more of that onus is going to be outsourced to third-party production companies and studios and creative organizations that are going to have to continue to feed that. So I think, to me, if you're an indie filmmaker, you're a very interesting opportunity as well on the positive side.
Yeah, yeah. I did want to bring up. So one of my favorite shows. I talk about a lot of favorites here on Screen Heat Miami, but they're my favorites. My personal favorites is this show called Black Mirror, which is on Netflix. And Black Mirror, this particular season, it's had a couple of episodes. Um, One, namely, that it doesn't touch on this specifically, but it's about a woman that she changes the perspective of things because she's come up with this computer system. And so, well, I'm not going to give away the whole of it, but it does speak to, what's happening and the future of what's happening. There was also an episode where the people in that episode didn't know, and I'm not going to say which specific episode, but the people of that episode were living inside of it was it was I guess you could say a reality inside of a reality, and it was all driven by a computer. And so this is, I don't know, am I talking to you right now?
I
I
mean,
don't
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Like, yeah, is it Inception? Is that where we're heading? Where we're like different layers of existence now, whether it's,
yeah.
you know, the real level, which is the tangible, and then sort of the dream state, then the virtual state. Like it's like Inception meets the Matrix, right? That's
Yeah.
our future is going to become.
Yeah. So let's kind of see where this goes, but let's get out of this. Let's get out of this particular matrix. Let's get out of this zone and jump into another, which I'm really loving, the review. The reviews. So I just did that wasn't a review of Black Mirror. You have to watch at least the past couple of seasons, but that's a show definitely to check out. Emmy nominated. Year over year, actually. Um, but JL, you've watched something recently. Some Another thing that I've wanted to watch. See, you're always ahead of me.
Ah,
You're ahead of me in Superman. I'm the week later. Yeah, you watched something recently. I want to hear your review on it.
sure. Where I kind of teased it that about this thing about indie films and filmmakers. And so I did see A24's movie Eddington. Ari Aster has this really interesting drama that's been out in theaters for a couple weeks now. And it's really interesting because it kind of takes this idea of the COVID era, if you haven't seen the trailers or anything, and it kind of pits two sides, right? The more sort of we need to live our own lives and we can't be bogged down by all these rules and the mask and the social. I mean, it could give a little trauma to all of us that lived through it. You kind of have to relive that time in our lives again. And then this mayor, which is played by Pedro Pascal, which I haven't seen him in anything recently, so I was glad to see him again on the big screen.
Unbelievable.
Can you believe it? It's been so long since we've seen him something with
He
Pedro
was using my
Pascal.
bathroom this morning. I'm like, what are you doing here, man?
Yes, he's in our podcast too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pedro Pascal, he does a great job. Though. I got to admit, this is one of his better roles that I've seen recently. He does a lot of great stuff, but he plays the mayor, who's obviously trying to be more in line with the national mandates and keep things in order. And so you have the sheriff, which is Joaquin Phoenix, another brilliant actor, and they're just kind of going toe to toe. What was interesting about the movie was the tone shifts in the movie. It's kind of like and I don't know if Ari was trying to do a commentary on how we consume content now, where, when you're browsing social media, the anxiety that creates and how it kind of shifts your mood depending on what you're saying. So you could be laughing at one thing 1 minute, the next thing you're like angry at something, and then you're crying, and then you're back to laughing again. And that's kind of the tone of the movie, where it's kind of borders on the comedic, but then it gets really dark and dramatic, and then it becomes like this relationship thing, and then it becomes like this kind of throwback to the original Rambo and guns and shooting and all sorts of crazy stuff that happens in the third
Sounds like
act.
that Black Mirror episode. You
Yeah,
know where you are.
tonally, yeah, it's kind of like up and down, but it's a little long. It's about 2.5 hours, so you're in for a lot there. I think they could have probably trimmed it down a little bit, cutting it close to the 2 hour, 2 and 15 mark, but they definitely Ari definitely packs a lot into that movie, as both an interesting story in this kind of small southwestern town, but also just kind of this social commentary on that era, but also how polarizing social media has become and news media. So it kind of, there's times where the characters are watching Fox News and they're thinking a certain way, and then other times they're watching CNN and it's giving it's like a different existence altogether. And then seeing these people come together in the streets and how they're already coming with these kind of polarized ideas about each other, and it's very hard for them even to connect and have a human conversation because they're already sort of coming in with these talking points. It even touches on BLM and a bunch of other stuff,
Mm.
and protests at the time. So it packs a lot in there for sure. But overall, I thought it was a great film. I know, Scorsese's mentioned he's a big fan of the film as well, and I liked it a lot. I think it's different. It's not a superhero film. It's not, what you're kind of used to seeing on the big screen. And credit to A24 for kind of picking up that mantle that, companies like Miramax and the Weinstein Company left behind. And they're always putting up interesting movies that kind of make you think, especially in these summer months with all the big popcorn stuff and the F1 and the racing, which are great stories. But this one kind of makes you dig a little deeper, so to speak.
Yeah. It's apropos, certainly relevant for the times. It's a movie that I've wanted to see. I wanted to see last week the Fantastic Four, but I ended up making a bed for my little one that it wasn't IKEA, you know, ordered it from this other place, and that ended up, I mean, I wish I would have, I don't know if I would have taken IKEA, but they offered the service that they, will build it for you. And I was like, oh, no, nah, forget that. I'll just build it myself. Famous last words. It took the whole weekend and it's still not finished. So I was not able to see Fantastic Four last weekend. I'll see it this weekend. And then I'll see Eddington, which I've been looking forward to. But great review on that film. It's something that I've been looking forward to seeing. Um, and based on your review, I have to rush now to go and see it in the theater.
Yeah, we'll see how much longer it's going to be on the big screen. I think A24 has a deal with one of the streamers now. I forget which one it is. I don't know if it's Apple, maybe, that a lot of their films wind up going there, but it's, as far as I know, it's still playing in a lot of theaters. So
Yeah. Um, the theater battle. Before we get to the theater battle, though, part of this battle, Christopher Nolan. Oh my goodness, he's already sold out. I mean, I know we
sold
talked
out
about
in
it.
IMAX. Yeah, the IMAX screens are sold
IMAX.
out.
What I'm pissed off about is IMAX 70 millimeter, of which we have. There's only a few of them in the country. We have one up in Fort Lauderdale. And so I saw his last film in IMAX
How was
70
that?
millimeter. Man, it was like, I mean, it felt like a nuclear bomb. It was Oppenheimer. Oh my goodness, man. Like in IMAX, I like to sit a little bit closer than normal, you know? Even if I have my choice, I like to sit a little bit closer. So, I got the tickets way too close. Man, I felt like forget about feeling like you're right there. I don't know if you what's his other movie where it's like, Interstellar.
Right.
Yeah, I
You're like in the
felt like I
movie.
was like, yeah, that little guy, Matthew McConaughey's character trying to, you know, like it was so big, so huge, man.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Yeah.
loved it. It was overwhelming, especially at first, but I loved it. So when they announced, and this was maybe beginning of last year, I want to say, they started announcing for this next movie who was going to be on board and all these things. I was like, I know it's going to be IMAX. It's probably going to be 70 millimeter. I'm there.
Yeah.
Nope.
No. Well, yeah, you're gonna have to wait at least a couple weekends, which, but
Maybe not even.
or you can, apparently they're scalping the tickets now. I've
I
heard
know.
two
Three.
hundred to $1,500
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I'm not doing that.
black market IMAX.
Well, the problem is, that particular those IMAX 70 millimeter theaters are booked up. And so they have windows. Same thing. I wanted to see Sinners, and I saw it in IMAX, but I wanted to see it in 70 millimeter IMAX. They opened up another screening. I don't know how they squeezed it in because they're already booked up. And then that sold out in minutes. I just couldn't because, I wanted to, kind of figure out how and, scheduling and all this stuff and gone. So, I mean, that bodes well though. for theater and the theater experience. The box office is up this year so
Yeah,
far.
yeah, and that kind of leads in what we were talking about is how this exhibition, right, and theaters seem to be doing well. Cinemark, another major chain, said that their numbers are up this summer. AMC, being the largest theater chain, also seeing positive things moving in the right direction. And but there is this kind of battle for what they call the PLF, right? The premium large format, which drives a lot of buzz, a lot of traffic, a lot of filmmakers like Christopher Nolan building their entire film around formats like IMAX and the Odyssey coming out next year. And it's driving a lot of this box office, in some cases up to 10% of the box office coming just from IMAX. But there are competing screens, right, which also provide sort of a bigger format. For example, Cinemark has XD and 3D XD, and there's a couple other ones. So there was a rumor that maybe some of the smaller theatrical chains were going to band together and create a competitor to IMAX, which would be interesting since a lot of the technology IMAX uses is proprietary, right? And they even designed special cameras for Christopher Nolan for his next movie, which would be the first time that we see those cameras being used, particularly for the IMAX basically format. And so what we're seeing right now essentially is this kind of shift in the studios and the exhibitors saying, look, if we're going to keep folks off their phones, get them off the couch and get them to come and spend, for an IMAX movie, maybe $20 a ticket, unless you have to scalp one for Odyssey and spend 400. But to really create an event around these movies. And the company that seems to have been doing it the best is IMAX. So when your film is being promoted by IMAX, when it's designed for IMAX, there's an extra marketing push, an extra buzz, and an extra energy that's being kind of touted around this technology, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah. So either it's the small screen or the biggest screen possible. It's crazy. But I mean, I think that that's amazing because, more money for the box office, more money for the filmmakers. I love large format. I have not shot anything for IMAX, but it has been great to see, some of my films in the theaters. I think for filmmakers, that's one of the best experiences is to sit in that theater and, you know, with a group of people and kind of get their take on your work. And I mean, there's almost nothing like it because it's a group experience. And so it's great to hear that IMAX, the theaters are doing better. I saw Superman 2 weeks ago in IMAX. And again, I try to sit a little bit closer. You do feel really immersed with that. With IMAX, it's pretty incredible. Christopher Nolan likes to shoot on film itself. So
That's right.
him
He's
and
got
Tarantino, they're just
very, very few
keeping that
filmmakers, right?
alive.
Yes, that have that clout in the industry to shoot on 70 millimeter. But it's worth it, obviously, like you said. Just
Yeah,
the for us pure film lovers out there.
yeah. So it's great to see this battle happening. Um, I'm not going to be able to see. Maybe they'll put one later, the Odyssey on 70 millimeter IMAX, but we'll see. I hope so. Um, I try to see as many as I can on the bigger format, especially the big kind of ticket ones and stuff like that. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Way to go, IMAX.
Way to go,
Keeping
IMAX. But
keeping it alive.
and way
Let's
to go, Screen Heat Miami. We got another industry heat section in the can.
there you go. But for right now, Gil Green, thank you very much. You crushed it.
Yeah. Shout out to our friends from the 305. He crushed it.
Yeah. And until next week, I'm Kevin Sharpley,
I'm Joe Martinez.
and I will hear you, see you
It's a whole
on
lot
the
of
next
stuff.
one. There is. That's right.
Experience. We'll experience you. Let's.
We can add that.
I think we can add that in there.
Yeah.
All right.
Until then,
Dali.
boom.